Wait. Stop what you're doing. You need to hear this. Because what Shohei Ohtani said immediately after his injury, the words that came out of his mouth in that moment, left his own pitching coach completely speechless. This isn't just a baseball story. This is a story about what separates legends from everyone else. The stadium was tense. The crowd went quiet. Every camera in Dodger Stadium locked onto one man. Shohei Ohtani had just come off the mound, and something was wrong. The training staff rushed in. The coaches exchanged nervous glances. Millions of fans watching at home held their breath. In Japan, it was the middle of the night, and yet social media exploded within seconds. Is he okay? Please, not an injury. Not now, not this season. Because this is not just any player. This is Shohei Ohtani. The man carrying two nations on his shoulders. The man who pitches like an ace and hits like a cleanup hitter, in the same game, on the same day, with the same calm expression on his face. When something goes wrong with him, the entire baseball world stops breathing. And in that frozen moment, when everyone expected panic, pain, or silence, Ohtani opened his mouth and said something that nobody in that dugout was prepared for. Something so unexpected that pitching coach Pryor couldn't find words to respond. Something that is now spreading across every major sports platform in America and Japan alike. So what did he say? Let's get into it. Pitching coach Connor Pryor has worked with some of the most talented arms in professional baseball. He has stood in countless dugouts, handled high-pressure situations, managed fragile egos and iron-willed veterans. He is not a man who is easily surprised. But when he approached Ohtani after the injury scare, ready to assess the damage, ready to have a difficult conversation, Ohtani looked at him and spoke first. He didn't ask about the injury. He didn't ask about his own condition. He didn't ask when he could return to the mound. He asked about the pitcher who was going to replace him. He asked whether the bullpen was ready, whether the team had enough arms to hold the lead, whether the game plan needed to change to protect the other pitchers for the rest of the series. Pryor, by his own account, stood there for a full 3 seconds without saying anything. Because in 20 years of professional baseball, no pitcher had ever said that to him in that moment. The moment a pitcher gets injured, the conversation always becomes about that pitcher. Their pain. Their timeline. Their career. Their fear. That is completely natural and completely human. But Ohtani's first thought was not himself. His first thought was the team. His first thought was the bullpen. His first thought was the game. Pryor later said, and these words have been shared thousands of times across American sports media. I've been in this game a long time. I thought I'd seen everything. And then he said that and I had nothing. When this story broke on American sports radio, one of the first voices to react was a veteran MLB analyst who has covered the league for over 2 decades. He didn't hold back. Let me tell you something. I've interviewed hundreds of players after injury scares. The conversation is always the same. How bad is it? When can I play? Is my season over? That is the normal human reaction and there is nothing wrong with it. But Ohtani flipped the entire script. He came off the mound thinking about everyone except himself. That is not normal. That is not even rare. That is something I have genuinely never seen before in this sport. He paused. Then he said something that stuck with every listener. You know what that tells me? It tells me that Ohtani doesn't experience pressure the way other players do. For most players, an injury is a personal crisis. For Ohtani, it was a logistical problem to solve for the team. His brain was already 3 steps ahead while everyone else was still processing what happened. That kind of mental wiring, you cannot teach that. You are either born with it or you are not. He went on to explain what this means in the context of the season. His ERA right now is sitting in a place that makes you question your own understanding of the sport. He is doing things on the mound that analysts and statisticians are genuinely struggling to explain. And now we find out that even when he is hurt, his instinct is to protect the team first. That changes how you understand every single number he has ever put up. Because behind every one of those numbers is this mentality. A former all-star pitcher, now a respected commentator, brought a completely different perspective when he addressed this story on his weekly podcast. I want to talk about what Pryor must have felt in that moment. Because I've been a pitcher. I know what coaches prepare for when they walk toward an injured player. They prepare for the worst. They prepare for tears, for anger, for denial. They prepare for a player who needs to be talked down from a very dark place. That is the reality of pitching injuries. They are career-defining moments, and they carry enormous emotional weight. So Pryor walks toward Ohtani with all of that preparation loaded in his mind. And Ohtani asks him about the bullpen. "I'm sorry," I burst out laughing when I first heard that. Not because it's funny. Because it's so far outside of what any of us would expect that your brain doesn't know how to process it at first. He then shifted to something more technical. Here's what I really want people to understand. The mental switch that Ohtani makes between pitching and hitting is already considered extraordinary. Coaches and sports psychologists have been studying it for years. Most elite athletes are deeply specialized in their mental focus. A pitcher thinks like a pitcher. A hitter thinks like a hitter. Ohtani thinks like both simultaneously, and now we are seeing that he also thinks like a manager. He is running 3 different cognitive programs at the same time. And when one of them gets interrupted by injury, the other 2 just keep running. That is not a baseball player. That is something else entirely. He closed with a message directed at young pitchers watching. If you are a young pitcher and you are listening to this, write down what Ohtani did in that moment. Not the home runs. Not the ERA. Write down the question he asked when he was the one who was hurt. Because that question tells you more about greatness than any statistic ever will. Greatness is not what you do when everything is going right. Greatness is what you think about when everything is going wrong. In Japan, the reaction was something entirely different, and in many ways, even more emotional. Japanese sports commentators and former Nippon professional baseball players were not surprised by what Ohtani said. They were moved by it. Because to them, this is exactly who Shohei Ohtani has always been. One prominent Japanese baseball commentator spoke for several minutes on a national broadcast, voice noticeably emotional. In Japan, we have a word, wa. It means harmony. It means the team before the individual. It is the foundation of Japanese baseball culture. When Shohei went to America, many people worried that the MLB culture, which is deeply individual, deeply focused on personal statistics and personal contracts, would change him. Would make him think differently. Would make him put himself first. What he said to Coach Pryor after his injury is the answer to all of those worries. He has not changed. He carried WA with him across the Pacific. He carried it into the most individualistic sports culture in the world. And he planted it right in the middle of Dodger Stadium. On social media in Japan, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Fans were not just celebrating the baseball. They were celebrating the man. Comments flooded in saying this is why he is different. This is why he is ours. This is why the whole world watches him. But here is what makes this story truly remarkable. It is not just about one remark in one moment after one injury scare. It is about what that remark reveals about every other moment we have already watched. Every home run. Every strikeout. Every full-speed sprint on a ball that everyone else would have jogged to first base on. Every early morning workout. Every calm expression in a pressure situation. All of it comes from the same place. The same wiring. The same answer to the same question that Pryor was too stunned to ask. Ohtani's question, "Is the bullpen ready?" tells us that when he stands on that mound, he is never thinking about himself. When he steps into that batter's box, he is never thinking about his own numbers. He is always thinking about whether the team can win. And that, not the ERA, not the home run distance, not the two-way statistics. That is the real reason why we are all watching. Pitching coach Pryor stood in that dugout for 3 seconds without words. 3 seconds in baseball is a very long time. In those 3 seconds, he understood something about Shohei Ohtani that no statistic had ever told him. And now so do you.